Hey guys, David Wills here with TED-IELTS.com, and today we're going to be talking about how to check your IELTS writing for mistakes. This is something you really need to be doing at the end of every essay you write. That's for task 1 and task 2, because you really should be doing it in the real IELTS exam. So even when you're practicing at home, I recommend you spend a few minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, reading over your essay and looking for mistakes. I know this can be difficult, of course, but it's one of those things, the more you practice, the better you will get. I'm a professional writer and editor. I've written several books, but even when I write something, I'll make mistakes, and when I go back and check it later, I'll see them and I can change them. So for you people, as English learners, this is going to be something you need to learn how to do. Today I'm going to show you an essay. We can see that written here on the left of the screen, and I'm going to show you my IELTS writing checklist, which you can see over on the right. You can find this checklist on the TED-IELTS Facebook page. I'll post that again, and it's also on our website somewhere, and you can see it floating around the internet. There are 10 steps on this list, if you count these as sub-steps. And they're all things that I think you really need to do at the end of every single IELTS writing task that you do. So first of all, we're going to think, did you directly answer the question? Now we've talked about this before, but it's really important for task achievement that you really directly answer the question. That means everything about it. So if we look at this question here, countries with long working days are more successful economically, but there are some negative social consequences. Okay, I forgot to copy in that part of the question, but it should say, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So looking at the question, we're thinking about countries. So this is not cities, it's not regions like Africa, Asia, Europe. We're looking here at this idea of long working days and more successful economically. Right, so economically meaning in terms of money, of course. So not more successfully technologically or socially, but in terms of money. We're also thinking here about negative social consequences. So what negative things are happening in society related to this issue? So when it says, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Well, we kind of have two parts to this question. So the countries that work longer hours are more successful, but part two, that there are some downsides to this, the negative consequences. So our agree or disagree is going to be taking into consideration both parts of this question. So did we directly answer the question? If we read through this answer here, you will see that yes, we did directly answer it. We can see in the introduction here, I start by giving a sentence that sort of paraphrases the question, and then this second sentence here. However, although this may seem like a positive phenomenon, there are actually some serious drawbacks. This is addressing part 2 of it. So the first sentence talks about the first part, second sentence talks about the second part, and then the next sentence gives a statement about the essay. So our first paragraph here, to begin with, the claim that longer working hours equates to economic success is hard to substantiate. So this paragraph here is going to be talking about the first part of the question. And the second paragraph, the reason why some countries have longer working days and yet lower levels of economic productivity is most likely related to the negative social impact of those long hours. So the negative social impact of those long hours, this is part 2 of the question. In other words, yes, we did directly answer the question. Number 2, check for spelling errors. Well, if we look through here, we can see this is Microsoft Word. There are no underlined words which would indicate that we have made a spelling error. If we did, it might look like this. We can see the red line, positive. So we look at this and we think, I need to insert an I. Of course, in the IELTS exam, you don't have Microsoft Word spell check, so you shouldn't rely on it too much. but you should still look through and find any spelling errors that you have made. Number 3, look for grammar mistakes. This is more difficult. I've actually put in a grammar mistake here myself. It is the word economy. So some people think that a country's economy success. Well, we can't say economy success. This needs to be in the adjective form, economic success. So we will look through and we find those grammar mistakes. Again, these are really, really difficult to find, but practice makes perfect. The more you work on your IELTS grammar, on your spelling and punctuation, the better you'll get at finding these mistakes. You'll still make them. Like I said, even I make these mistakes. But a native speaker or a very high-level speaker will find those mistakes later and remove them. Number 4 says, check punctuation. So where do our commas go? Where do our full stops or periods go? And here, there is one missing comma. We should insert there. However, is a conjunctive adverb. We put this following a semicolon or period, and following it, we should have a comma in most cases. So we should be checking through for commas like that. If you want to find out how to spot these mistakes, the best way is to have someone marking your essay and telling you. If you find a professional, a teacher, or a really high-level friend who can spot errors in your writing, they can tell you these mistakes. Then you can look at them and see what mistakes you're regularly making. For example, maybe you struggle with commas. After that, you know what to look for in your own writing, and it will get easier and easier over time finding and removing these mistakes. If you want me to correct your essays, you can click the link down below in the description. Number 5 is ensure there's a variety of sentence types. I was marking an essay yesterday, and this essay had, at the beginning of every paragraph, 2 simple sentences. Now, this is not a big mistake, but it also doesn't look good. The examiner will read this, and it doesn't sound very natural. There's no flair to it. Sure, you could score 5 or 6 with this, but you're not going to be scoring a 7, 8, 9 with too many of the same types of sentence, especially if that's a simple sentence. You want variety in the type and length of sentence that you write. In this essay here, you can see there's a variety. If we look at the sentences, we can see by highlighting them the varied length that they are. There are some short sentences and some much longer sentences just like this. This is what professional writers and very qualified native speakers will do. Next, is it correctly structured? So I've got 3 parts here, introduction and conclusion. So your essay should have an introduction at the beginning and a conclusion at the end. This is just for task 2. If you're doing a task 1 essay, you don't need a conclusion. Your introduction should tell the reader what your essay is going to do, what it's about, and the conclusion should summarize it. Do you have clearly defined body paragraphs? Well, we can see here there are 2 body paragraphs, and yes, they are clearly defined. Each body paragraph should have one single idea, so it should have a focus. For example, we have the advantages in one paragraph and disadvantages in another. We have the causes in one paragraph and the solutions in another, and so on. Does it have logical flow? This means, does one idea go to the next and the next and the next? Let's look at this essay. So, for our first body paragraph, to begin with, the claim that longer working hours equates to economic success is hard to substantiate. So this is a broad idea. Our next sentence focuses it. For one thing, the most economically developed countries in the world don't necessarily have longer working days than the less developed ones. So this second sentence is expanding upon the previous one. Now we're going to develop this further. In fact, in recent decades, Europe and North America have seen the average workday decrease in length along with a rise in output, while many poorer countries see their populations toil with little to show for their efforts. So we're developing, putting an idea upon an idea and focusing. Now we come to a sort of conclusion of the paragraph. Thus, one could conclude that it is quality of work and not quantity of work that is important. Now you'll notice logical flow here. This is our ideas going from one to next. This is quite closely related to the next point, our transition words used correctly. Now here I've got transition words to begin with, for one thing, in fact, and thus. Maybe it could be said there are too many transition words here. But if you look into the next sentence, we don't have them for the first two sentences at least. A native speaker, professional writer is not going to use a transition word for every sentence. That doesn't look too good, but you should use them to direct your reader. We can use words like however. We can use words or phrases like in conclusion or moreover. These can tell us things and point us in the right direction. You must develop vague statements with detail. Do I have any vague statements? Yes, I have some vague statements. They are the first statement in a paragraph because a topic statement should be very broad. A vague statement is okay as long as you develop it further, giving details or examples. Finally, check the word count. You are supposed to be writing at least 250 words. So the word count for this essay, if I move this up a little bit, is 298 words. It's a little long, but you should be aiming for about 260 to 280 words. If you write more than 300 words, that's not really very great. It leaves more room to make more mistakes and to go off topic. So try and keep your essay short and to the point, but make sure that you do check the word count so that you're above 250 words, or else you will be penalized. Right, folks, I hope this lesson has been useful for you. You can download this picture here, this checklist, and you can consult it when you're writing your own IELTS essays. I'm sure it will be very helpful for you. Remember, it takes practice. A little work every day will get you to perfection eventually. Good luck to everyone that has their IELTS exam this week. You can reach out, ask me any questions you want on email or on Facebook. And I'll see you again soon for another IELTS video.